Welcome to this edition of Fastlane, a JCTV podcast, and on today's show we have for you a quick rundown through the Slide Job Racing League final regular season standings in the MF Racing Designs Premier Series. We're going to look at who made the playoffs, who didn't, and what the chances are to move forward. Quick rundown through the top 20, like I said, and then we're going to move forward to the JCTV schedule, the upcoming races in each of our leagues here. We now have 4 leagues each week broadcasted here on JCTV, live on YouTube, so be sure to tune in to see when we're going to be live this upcoming week. And then we have the hashtag ITPNTrucks Carpool lane following the Daytona race, the Season 4 opener. Matthew Stotts joins us to talk about his top 10 run there. Then we have a quick look at the Daytona and Michigan results from this past week in the ITPN Truck Series and the Slide Job Racing League, and then Homestead preview for this week in the Blazer Sim Racing in the InThePitsNews Truck Series, race 2 of the season 4, and Bennett joins us along with driver analyst Jonathan Parker, who's going to join us in the booth tonight from Homestead, Miami. So it's got a lot in store for you in Fastlane today, and we get started now. Before we get into our normal segments here on Fastlane, I want to get a look at the Slide Job Racing League point standings right now, following the Season 10 finale at Michigan International Speedway we saw right here on JCTV last Tuesday night. Like I said, the season finale for the MF Racing Designs Premier Series, so we saw a lot of drama in that race, and it was a very close, tight point race for these guys to make it in. We previewed this on the last Fastlane show, how close it was going to be for a lot of these guys racing in for this battle, and ended up in a couple heartbreaks. Really, Christian Pacheco got eliminated in a racing incident with Zach Probst, and it really was no fault of his own. But that all started with a caution flown by Jared Wilson. With about 15 laps to go, caution flew for him spinning out, and at the time, both he and Pacheco, Jared Bogley Motorsports drivers, were both in the top 10, and then neither one of them advanced. And this is something Josh and I talked about. They just needed to be in a situation where at least one of them could have made it, and unfortunately it slipped through the cracks, and they were unable to make it through, and as was Brian Dees by just 2 points. Brian Dees failed to go through into the postseason for Season 10 playoffs. That was very disappointing. Zach Amon jumped way up to 15th in the points. He was a long shot outside possibility and really had no threat of making it in, but he was a very strong competitor all race Tuesday night in Michigan, so he was really hoping for some sort of miracle. Didn't go his way. He is up to 15th in the point standings and looks very well for the last portion of the season with 5 to go, hoping to take the Dash for Cash bonus and the Best for Rest championship. Blaze McKinney also went up a spot with a good points run for him there. As for the race for the regular season that we were following also Tuesday night, Dalton Kiro ended up taking the regular season championship. The reigning overall series champion takes home another title to his name, winning, like I said, the regular season championship in the Premier Series presented by MF Racing Designs. So he brought one home for his team owner, Michael Falk there. Michael Thorpe Jr. ended second in the points. He was 8 back from Kiro in the final points when it was all said and done, and Jonathan Parker was 3 away from him in third. That was a very narrow point race all night long, and they finished pretty close together on the racetrack and were running nose to tail in the final restart at one point. So Taj Mann, with all of his penalties, he ended up in 5th, with Mark Frempong, the winner Tuesday night, catapulting up into the 4th place. Caden Atkins is in 6th, with Luke Knupp locking himself in with a 7th place finish in the regular season standings, as did Dylan Parker in 8th, Blaine Sparling in 9th, and Ethan Fonseca Moreno took the last 10th final position in the postseason. He made it in this time, as Dawson Allen confirmed Tuesday night on our post-race show, and able to make it into the playoffs. He's going to threat for a championship this season, and he's going to do so from the 10th position, reset when we get forward to starting the race this Tuesday night from Nashville Superspeedway.
Hello, I'm Brett Bennett, driver of the number 47 SBLD Ford F-150, and you're listening to Fastlane, a JCTV podcast.
Now it's time for the hashtag ITPNTrucks Carpool Lane Joining us this week is the 8th place finisher from the Fastlane 250 at Daytona. Season 4 opening race was Matthew Stotts finishing in the 8th position in that 17 Fastlane Silverado. So Matthew, what was that race like? I was watching you for a little bit in that race. I was watching you kind of draft off of Alonso and just hanging just behind the just around right around mid-pack there, just off of the lead draft.
Well, I'll tell you, the race was kind of interesting. Obviously, at the beginning, my goal was to not end up dead if there was a wreck in the first, right before the first stage or whatever. That happened to me last season. So I tried to stay back, but not too far back because I wanted to at least, see something, not just 3 or 4 trucks by themselves. So I tried to get with at least a teammate or an affiliate or whatever. And that's when I saw Alonso. So I was like, I'll ride with him. Had no communication with him, so I just was like, I hope this all works well. So that's what I did, though. Did it up until the end of the stage, I believe, and then, then I chose to work with Cam and all of them, and try to set myself up for the end of the race rather than, I guess, to suck. I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie. I wish you had finished one spot backwards than where you did finish. But of course, to me that is. But it is a top 10 finish. 8th place. Good start to the season so far. Going back to that race, I know myself, I really heavily talked on how big of a team race it was and working with your teammates. I think we saw that throughout the race overall, through the Radius guys, the PBR boys, the SPLD guys, all working well with each other. What was it like from your perspective? Do you think that it really was a teamed race?
I feel like for some people it was mainly for not just the Radius guys and stuff, but also, well, like you said, your guys as well. The PBR. I want to make sure I get that right. The PBR guys, and it almost seemingly worked well enough when we were all together. I mean, truthfully, we knew what we had to do, especially when pit stops came around. We all made our pit stops around the same time, I believe. I think on the same lap, and we kind of knew from right after we got out that we needed to get single file, even though it took me 5 laps to do so. But when we all got single file, we ate up. We did our thing. We gapped, or we made up time, and then we were able to gap when they made their pit stops, and kind of did it for the rest of the race, which was kind of crucial, knowing that we eventually started racing for the win at the end there. And just for it to show not just how good we were to work together, but how good it was for us to race each other. You see, we had some moves made here and there, but it didn't cost us. It didn't cost us time or anything like that. I mean, we were still able to keep our gap the same, and we were able to keep it clean until it came to the very end of the lap. So, I thought it was very good and very important for a team race, or from racing with teams. I try to get that out there right, but yes, it was very much like a team race.
Well, one thing I noticed was that some of the Radius guys had issues on pit road. There was one point Tristan Maher had contact. Justin Durand had troubles getting into his pit stall. And I know at one point into the green flag pit stops, Cameron Caldwell had to drop back for you because the way you exited pit road. So how difficult was it making all those green flag pit stops Saturday night? And what was the biggest challenge pitting as a team? Was it getting together, or was it just getting slowed down on the apron?
It was definitely getting together. Especially for me and Cam, because we had planned to pit on a certain lap altogether, but me and Cam were stuck in the high side, and we were trying to get down, couldn't do it, so we had to wait an extra lap. And then just for me getting off at pit road, I for some reason I chose to elect tires after the or at the end of stage one after the end of at the end of the stage. I decided to take tires, and I didn't put tires on again ever again that race, which was probably a bad mistake on my part because it was extremely tough to navigate around the apron. I had to be a little bit more conservative, and it kind of cost me time. Thankfully, it didn't cost me too much time to where it killed me and probably Cam if he didn't drop back, but it was tough, especially for obviously Tristan had his issues, and then Cam had to wait up for me, and I think you said Justin had issues as well. It's tough, especially for me. I believe it was the first at the stage. I got myself spun out because I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't, I guess, looking for my box, but it's tough, man. But I was able to rebound from that. Fortunate for the other guys, but it just shows how tough it is just trying to navigate around the pit road just on that, not just on entry but on exit.
Well, Stotts, it wasn't a fantastic finish where you netted up, but you did get a bonus point. You were the hard charger with the most passes in the race, going from 30th to 10th. So what was it like passing all those cars and being in the mix there in the draft, especially at the end?
Oh, it was great. It was cool. Just being able to work my way up there. That was kind of my goal. I didn't want to qualify up front. Obviously, you don't know what happens. So started in the back, made sure to play it safe, and then felt like it was time to make the moves up there. And then never really got to run in the big pack, quote unquote. But just watching it from afar, it looked like everything was a little good. Sometimes it looked a little skeptical. I think there were 3 wide at one point up there. So obviously, watching the big pack do their thing had its good moments and certainly had its terrifying moments. But it looked good. And then I guess for our pack, when we took over and took the lead and did our thing, it was pretty calm. It was pretty good, calm. Just riding and listening to the guys tell me what I need to do and how, what the goal was and the plan, and also being able to, keep an eye on Bogey and McCorkle, I believe that's his name, to keep an eye on him. Because obviously I know McCorkle was close on field, so being able to worry about so many things at once while also staying in the pack and doing our thing was pretty cool, pretty awesome. And yeah, just did the thing.
You bring up that finish there at the end with Cody McCorkle running out of gas. How much were you keeping up with that? I know your teammates were a little bit. And what was the reaction like in the Radius voice chat when that happened, and your thoughts at the time?
Oh man, brother, I would tell you, we were monitoring him, whatever the word. We were watching him like a hawk, basically. I mean, we were with every lap, we would like basically keep ourselves updated. Cam would keep an eye, and we were thinking he was gonna make it. I mean, the longer we got into the near the end, or so, it looked like it was gonna happen. We were expecting us to be racing for second, honestly. And then finding out that he had ran out, we had the help of Tristan to tell us that he ran out since he was running with them. As soon as we got the word, brother, I tell you, we was getting crazy. We were yelling at each other. Oh, he ran out. I mean, we was basically just telling each other the same thing over and over. And we knew right then and there what we was racing for. And there was not a quiet moment whatsoever. I mean, from getting told to wrecking to still trying to cross the start finish line. It was wild. It was great. We thought we had the race won at one point, and then the wreck went off. I think we thought I think it was Bennett Allen. We thought that was about to win it, and then Cougar came along across the line and won it. It was great, man. Not a we obviously want a Radius guy or Vortex guy, whatever, to pull up and win it, but it was crazy just how hectic that last 2 corners were to the start finish line.
What was the added pressure? As soon as you knew he ran out, what was the pressure like from you? Did your heart rate just like spike, or what was the feeling from inside your race truck?
Well, for me, it was I wouldn't say I had my heart rate never really spiked, or at least I don't think it really rose until probably the start or the front stretch. I was in the back. So I was like right there at the end of the line. So I mean, I figured if anything happens right in front of me, I'll be able to react, I guess, the best, hopefully. And so that's probably when I started getting my nerves shot up, because I thought I was in the best spot probably if anything was to happen to our group up front. And it was interesting to say the least, with everything happening and stuff. It was crazy though. Right when the wreck started happening, I was debating, up there if I should just try throwing her in the grass and just hope and making it stick and see if it counts or not, or just stay and hope I don't get caught in it right on the track. So probably should have just throw it in the grass. But great race though. It was great, fun, hectic, wild.
So mentioning that crash right there in the tri-over on the last lap, you crashed into it and crossing the line into an 8th place finish. So do you consider that a good night with all things considered and the strategy going on there at the final stage of that race?
Oh yeah, I consider that a great night. Compared to how it went for me last season and how I just ended off the season. Not even being able to show up for most of the races, it hurt, and put me in a spot where I was having to, debate. I was probably not even going to race this past weekend because I was probably going to do some stuff for my parents, but had the time. So this is a great finish. This is what I needed. I've had some pretty crappy luck on plate tracks, so this is also what I needed for me to have some type of confidence going into these plate races and just trying to learn off of people that I talk to and all that, like Jonathan Parker, my good guy, my guy. Try to learn what he does and how he sets himself up for these type of races, not just in leagues, but also just in official races when it comes around. So 8th place is honestly the best I think I could ever ask for because it's the top 10. So very, very good night.
Well, our next race is at Homestead Miami Speedway this Saturday night, 8 p.m. on JCTV. So are you planning on racing this Saturday, Stotts? And it will be your debut in the league at Homestead. So what's going to be your expectations for that race, and how easy you're going to take it there, and what are you anticipating to see? You mentioned Jonathan Parker. He won that race last season, but he is not entered. He's going to join us in the booth.
Yeah. I'm not too sure, honestly. I'd probably try to get some practice laps in. Heck, I'll probably even try talking to Jonathan about it since he won their last season. Maybe I can just get some word of advice from him. Obviously, I need to try and work on my long run speed, my long run car. That's something I've never been able to get down. The only time I can remember even having a long run car was probably Phoenix 2 seasons ago. So I've got to work on making a long run car work. And that's what I'm probably going to try to mainly work on before the race this Saturday. But I do plan on showing up. Hopefully it goes good. I don't know too much about Homestead. I didn't watch back, unfortunately, last season on the race when I should have. So I'll probably also look into that as well and see what I saw from the broadcast and probably put into effect for me this weekend.
All right, well, thank you, Stotts, for taking your time, joining us on the Carpool Lane here on Fast Lane, and good luck this Saturday at Homestead, Miami.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
That was Matthew Stotts in the number 17 Fast Lane Silverado for Vortex Racing. We hope to catch you guys next week in the Carpool Lane after Homestead Miami Speedway. We'll see who we get lined up next week for the hashtag ITPNTrucks Carpool Lane right here on Fast Lane, a JCTV podcast.
Fastlane, a JCTV podcast, is sponsored by FACES, the National Craniofacial Association.
I'm Jonathan Parker, driver of the number 48 Lowe's Cobalt Tool Chevrolet, and this is Fastlane on JCTV.
Cody McCorker ran out of gas in the last couple corners of the last lap at Daytona National Speedway last Saturday night, giving the win to anyone in the lead pack who was going to survive to the line. It ended up in a chaotic finish with a crash to the finish. Michael Kruger snuck through after just hugging against that safer barrier. We got a little bit damaged through it, but he crossed the line ahead of Alonso Chicano. Bennett Allen was third, Alex Griffin fourth, and Cameron Caldwell rounded out our top five. Those of you watching on the YouTube version can see the rest of the results and the bonus points there. As for the Slide Job Racing League this past Tuesday in Michigan, ended the regular season for the 10th season of the Premier Series, presented by MF Racing Designs, and Monk Frimpong got his first career win in the Tri-Ratio Racing 53 car. He was able to hold off his teammate of Sartaj Man after a couple restarts. Blaze McKinney looked to have it in the bag. He ended up in third, with Dylan Parker in fourth and Dalton Kilrow taking home the regular season championship and a 5th place finish in Michigan. Fastlane is also sponsored by Spooky Games. Check them out in Attleboro, Massachusetts, or online at spooky-games.square.site or on their Facebook today. Links are in the description. Joining us now on Fastlane is Brett Bennett and Jonathan Parker. We're going to preview this weekend's InThePitsNews Truck Series race at Homestead Miami Speedway, the second race of the season. Brett, you did some testing earlier today. What did you find out from your long run practice, and what are we going to come to expect this Saturday night?
I think it's going to be very similar to the past races at Homestead. It's going to be a tire management race more than anything. That track eats tires, and being able to maintain your pace on the long run, being able to back up your lap times is going to be huge and determine who wins. I think most likely the strategy is going to play out. I think we might see some people try to go for a two-stopper in the second stage. It should be able to be accomplished in one stop, though, so I think that's going to be the preferred strategy. But if you have really good short run pace, you might be able to make the two-stopper work. So it'd be interesting to see a big spec of strategy. I know past seasons we haven't gotten a lot of cautions, so likely it's going to be a race where it's going to all be about long run pace. If we start getting cautions, it might turn into more short run, but I think almost every Homestead race we've had has been maybe two or three cautions at most.
No, Jonathan, you won last season's race here, of course, just a few months ago, really. So how was it trying to conserve tire in that race? And how was it just trying to manage the gap to the next truck behind you doing that effort?
Yeah, you kind of have to be doing it from the drop of the green flag. You can't really go in the first couple laps and then save. It's very important to save right at the beginning because you do most of your damage to your tires at the beginning of the run. So there was a couple of the runs where I was battling Alex in one of them, and then the other one I was battling Mikey. And I let them go and lead a lap or two because that's just not a pace I wanted to run. And then I got around them and just kind of managed the gap after that. Once I got out to about a second and a half, I'll go back to conserving a little bit. So it is the name of the game at Homestead, and you kind of want to run either the paint or a lane up from that. There's kind of a debanking on that bottom groove. It has a little bit less banking than the rest of the racetrack. You can run kind of at that seam too to also save tires. Those are the best two lanes to save tires. The top, especially in 1 and 2, is probably faster, but it'll eat up your tires. So you just gotta know when to go up there and when not to go up there.
So, Brett, with the practice you did, what did you find with the tire wear that you're going to try to expect this weekend, and how is it going to be trying to conserve it in the race?
After I did about 40 lap run, I was going to do 50, and then I looked down and started looking at like my phone in the middle of the backstretch and ran into the wall because I wasn't paying attention. Problem with doing single car runs is ADHD sometimes happens. But I think overall it shouldn't be an issue unless you're absolutely abusing the crap out of the tires. Like if you're one of those people who is turning in hand over hand in the corners, Tyler Watermelon, for example. No offense, that was a little mean. Sorry to Tyler, but he has blown tires at Dover in the first stage in both ITPN races, so that's why I thought of him. And then he proceeded to hit the tire barrel on pit entry after blowing the tire, both times. But yeah, the overall though, it will be about saving. As John said, it'll be about saving those tires. You have to do it. You do have to do it from the green flag. What I was also finding, especially on the older tires, was I was at times getting back to the gas too early. Some of it is me. I'm usually pretty bad about being patient on the gas, but I was really finding a lot of lap time late in the run by being patient on the gas, waiting for the car to settle before getting back. Because even on late in the run, you're still getting loose on this setup. The rear end really wants to step out on corner exit throughout a run. It's especially bad on cold tires, just as you almost always see in iRacing. But even once the tires start to warm up, you're still going to have trouble on exit if you're being too aggressive with that throttle, getting back to it too early. Got to be real patient on the wheel. Real smooth. It's a track that really rewards smoothness, I think, which is why you see people like Jonathan be successful here. Is the drivers who are the most smooth are usually the ones who are putting it up front here and staying up front. So, I don't think I'm going to be the winner this week, but I think I can get a decent finish at least. So hopefully we can get that done and put ourselves in a better position than we are after Daytona.
So, Jonathan, Brett, when you try and conserve tire like this at a track like Homestead, Miami, how difficult does it become when you're deeper in the pack and your line really isn't really chosen, or excuse me, is chosen for you? You can't really pick it sometimes because of the other people you're racing against. How difficult is it just in the middle of the pack, and what should we come to expect on the broadcast Saturday night, looking deeper in the field when it comes to stuff like that?
I think a lot of it's going to be knowing when to attack and try to pass people and when to be patient behind somebody. I know me personally, I'm a big fan of clean air, so a lot of times I'll vary my line to get clean air to the nose, just because the truck especially has a bad tendency to have aero push. Um, but at the same time, you're going to want to, as Jonathan said, running that bottom here seems to always be a lot better on the tires. So you're going to want to be trying to run that bottom, but at the same time, if you're catching somebody fast, you might want to move up the track to try to pass them. But you always have to take into account that if you're going to move up the track, try to make that move, there's a good chance you're going to then be taking life out of the tires. So that's going to be something just to keep in mind as that's going on. But
Yeah, it's a game of give and take, really. You're right about the clean air. Obviously, everyone loves clean air. I promise you, you're not the only one. But it's just, you can only go up top a certain amount of times before you're overheating your tires, and it's not impossible to go up there and not overheat your tires. It's just you really have to be conscientious of what's going on, and sometimes in order to pass someone, you're gonna have to just stay back and ultra save because with the trucks, I bitch about it all the time. They are just arrow machines. That's like the only thing I've learned from these things is how to arrow block people and skirt them with the air. But it's a lot of it's arrow racing. So if you can get an advantage with tires, you'll be king. I promise you.
yeah, well, it'll be an interesting race. You not running? I assume you're not running.
I'm not
Opens it
running.
up because I don't think anybody had anything for you last year here. It'll be interesting. Maybe no Maori shows up. I know season 1 he came out and just dominated this race, and I think it was his first race in the league, and everybody thought at that point that he was going to come in next season and dominate, and then that never really materialized. But I know he's strong here. I know you'd know better. Is Ethan running this week? I thought he maybe mentioned having something.
Probably yes. I would say he's
Okay.
running.
If Ethan's running, I think he's probably gonna. I would say he's probably the favorite this week. I know he was really good here last year. Nathan Fuller, if he's running, also is going to be a strong candidate. Plus, there's a lot of new drivers in the league who are pretty good and could easily put themselves up front in position to get a really good result. So it'll be a very interesting race.
Well, a lot of good candidates to be up front. What do you anticipate to see for yourself, Brett, in that 47 for SPOD? How do you anticipate Miami to run?
I think just where I am skill wise right now, I feel like I want to be going for at least a top 10 in every race. I think I have the pace and skill to do that. I I want to have a cleaner race than I had last year. I know last year me and David Duran got together a few times. First one was, if I remember right, it was almost 100% on him, but it might have been a bit of netcode too. But spun me, didn't get a caution because iRacing love. Homestead's one of those tracks where iRacing is really bad about not throwing cautions for spins. Because I was like in the racing line and everything. There was still a few cars behind me, but nothing came out. But saved it there, but lost kept it off the wall, but lost like half a lap. And then when he had pitted and was coming to pass me, I tried to block him and then ran into him and spun myself in the wall. So if I can avoid doing stupid stuff like that, I think if I can get a top 10, I'd love to get higher up, and we'll see. See if I think maybe I figured some stuff out today that will help me a lot. But at the same time, I don't think I have the pace here. This is not one of my strongest tracks, especially in the trucks. I've the only real vehicle I've had a lot of success at Homestead in is the IndyCar, and this is not the IndyCar. So we'll see how it goes, and hopefully I can get in the top 10, get a strong result for SBLD, and put us in a hopefully start clawing into that points gap I built myself at Daytona.
Well, Jonathan, we heard a couple of names that Brett threw out there that are going to run up front this weekend. Do you agree with him, or are there 2 or 3 other names that stand out to you that are going to be in the contention here this Saturday at Homestead, 8 p.m. on JCTV?
I know you're a professional. We're all professionals up here in JCTV, but he picked 2 very good bullets. Nathan Fuller was very fast. He was just as fast as me and Ethan. Ethan was just as fast as me. Um, Kruger was up front. I remember Kerfin being up front before he had his issues. And someone who's new that'll probably be really good is Hunter Peach because he is a tough out just about everywhere I've raced him at. So you expect to see him towards the front, and those are just kind of the guys I think are going to be really good.
Or is there going to be anything specifically you're going to be watching out for when you're higher top in the JCTV booth for your second time in the InThePitsNews Truck Series this weekend?
Mostly I'm going to be seeing who's going to be giving and taking a lot, and I'm going to be seeing who's going to be keeping the right side of their trucks out of the wall because that's such a sensitive part, especially with this damage model. If you get even just a little bit of right side damage, you might not think it hurts your car a lot. It does. It just, even if it's just a little bit of aero damage, you'll wear out your tires a lot more, and there's almost nothing you could do. So I'll be looking out for that, and I'll be looking out for who's ripping the wall and see who can prove me wrong, because I don't think you can go up there too much and expect to be good, 25, 30, 35 laps into a run. So that's what I'll be looking for. And I'll be making sure that second stage is only a one stop because I don't like manufacture fuel mileage races, excuse me.
Yeah, the only way it's going to be a fuel mileage race is if we get a caution right around when everybody who's on the one stop would be coming in. I do think we'll see people try the 2-stop. I know so my calculation based on my pace. So I put together a spreadsheet today to start calculating just for different races that I can use to put together where the run, and I calculated that based on my pace over 50 laps and what kind of fall off I was seeing, that a 2-stop would be 10 seconds with the additional time of that extra pit stop. A 2-stop would end up being 10 seconds slower than a 1-stop over the 96 laps, which is what it should be after the stage caution. So if it goes green from there, I think that's going to be. I think the 1-stop's the way to go, but that's close enough where if you have better short run pace, then I could 100% see a 2-stop working for that. So I'm just going to see if some people try it.
Yeah, I was just brainstorming that because I remember, obviously Kansas was very close as to whether 1-stop or 2-stop was faster, and
Yeah, I think
it's
Kansas
just
has been close the last 2 times because I almost won it on a 2-stop season 2. So
yeah, I was a big advocate in the off season for changing these stage lengths a little bit, and I'm not gonna back down from that. I think, especially at these mile and a halves, it's way too close for comfort in terms of kind of manufacturing some certain strategy races.
yeah, I think probably what really needs to be done is if we're on the cusp of 1-stop, either extend stage 1 or reduce stage 1 just to get it off that window where I honestly would rather pull it back and just make it a 2-stop race because
You can do
then
that,
you
yeah.
get a lot of the strategy from having to pit in. Instead, for example, this race, if you're on a 1-stop, your window to pit is about 4 laps. You can come probably between lap, I would say probably around lap. Shoot, my brain is blanking on math right now. 82 to 86, I would say, is probably the window where you're going to have to stop. and you're probably going to want to pit on the front end at least 84. You might be able to stretch it to 88, but I think 84 to 88 probably is the ideal window.
Yeah, I remember being pretty close last season at Homestead in particular before we got the yellow. So
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see though, because I definitely think if you have enough pace, you can make the one stop work. I don't see it being the way to go. But at the same time, there's a lot of factors that play into that. Like if you're in traffic, you almost might want to try a two stop if you're stuck back in traffic, just to get clean air on the truck and start moving into it and moving through people, because people are going to give up on the long run. Plus, if you're losing a lot of time in traffic, you can make that two stop still might be the best for some people's race. So it'll be interesting to see. And I don't mind races like this where there's enough fall off to make the two stop reasonable. It's the same way at Kansas, at least, where the two stop, when it happens, there's still enough fall off where
I'm
it might be viable.
I'm okay with it when it's more just thinking about tires, but if it's straight up fuel, that's a problem with me.
Yeah, I kind of agree, but we'll see what happens. If we have a similar field size to Daytona, I also would not be surprised if this race turns into a little bit more of a caution fest than it's been in years past.
Yeah, that's one thing about this track. It is with this setup, it doesn't tighten up. It doesn't build tight. It just kind of stays loose, especially as you cross the seams off of 4. It just
Off of
it
4
could
definitely is bad, and then also off of 2. I want to say it was season 2. I want to say was when Jonathan, I think it was Jeremy Richmond tried to slide job me off of 2 and just absolutely lost it and knocked down the wall. I avoided him, but ended his race, I think, and brought out a caution.
Yeah, it's a tough race to have early on in this season because when we had it in the chase, it was mostly chase drivers and the regulars that you see all the time. So it's
Yeah, I think we've added a lot of regulars this season though, so it'll be interesting to see how
Yeah.
the numbers stay this season, because a lot of the people I saw who weren't regulars before showing up at Daytona are people who I think will become regulars based on my understanding of what their plans are. So we'll see. I do very much expect there to be at least one major wreck off of turn 4 on a restart, on the lap after restart. But then again, I expect that at almost every track, because usually turn 2 is usually fine because people aren't quite carrying enough speed to be loose yet. But on especially loose setups like this, I have a feeling somebody's going to overdrive turn 4, get to the gas, start losing it, either overcorrect up the track into the field or just spin in front of people and people are going to run over each other checking up. So that's just going to be something to look out for and to be aware of too.
Well, thank you, Brett, for reporting what you found today in your practice and letting us debate a little bit about how this race is going to run this weekend. And Jonathan, thanks for your analysis here on Fastlane, and we look forward to hearing what more you have to say mid-race this Saturday for your second race in the booth for the In the Pits News Truck Series. It's going to be pretty exciting. Good luck, Brett, and that 47 truck for SBOD, and it should be an exciting race at Homestead. We're going to be live at 8 p.m. on JCTV. Thanks, guys.
Anytime.
Thank you.